Hihane washte del.
Oh, good morning. I think I didn't hear the flute music. It just didn't come over, so I'm sitting here. Am I on now?
You are on now.
Okay. Hey, good morning, or hihani washte, as we say in Lakota, everybody. I hope we have some good, or I should say people out there. I think my topic is going to be a very good one. I have battles within my own thoughts every day. I feel like I'm a prisoner of my own thoughts a lot of times, just because I live in two worlds, and it's a very difficult thing to do at times. Some days it's easy, but sometimes when something occurs, it pretty much becomes difficult for me to understand or to comprehend what is actually going on from my teachings. But first of all, let's say a short prayer. I'm going to say a short prayer for everybody so that we may at least send prayers out for the people and the animals and the creations out to California. I think prayers are really needed for the people out there, as well as everybody. So, abetule tunkashila wacha ke iawiyam he California ekta ilehe tunkashila yugasni naha oyate naha wamakashka hina oichaki naha ejustikel napal te hetuktel washte el inajukte naha abetule no kuwia wa geisha pathastian echape ha he mashke wala he she's over across in a different country working her with peace. She's trying to bring peace, and I just ask that you protect her and let her angels be with her. Now everybody that out there, ungana kuja naha, ungana tako chandeshi jana tako wiuk jana ha, tako uspeok de hina tunkashila oicha kapi ho tunkashila hechegla ephe. All right, good morning, everybody. The best thing I can say is if anybody has checked my page, I had posted something about Vine Deloria Jr. Making a statement of saying the primary difference between the Western and indigenous ways of life is that Indians experience and relate to a living universe, whereas Western people reduce all things living or not to objects. I think that says it best for me in regards to living in two worlds here, because from the beginning of who you are, my father and mother, I know I give a lot of credit to my dad a lot of times, but my mother was also the one that always reminded me to look in the mirror and remember who I was, and to remember where I came from. And living out here, being assimilated and acculturated to mainstream society has really been very difficult. And I try my best utilizing the four components of the medicine wheel to keep things in balance. But sometimes I feel like I'm a prisoner of my own thoughts and my own beliefs. You know, there's the principle and rules of the universe, and I question that a lot of times in regards to my daily life. I'm not sure if anybody has a different. I mean, some of the listeners out there, I don't know if this would touch your mind and your heart, but to live in two worlds, as I say, is difficult at times. On both ends, because sometimes you're readily not accepted, for who you are, and where the strength comes from is through prayers, and I say that because that's what's keeping me firm on my foundation of life, and it really is difficult because to start off. I grew up in a little hamlet in South Dakota called Skokpa, or Skokpa was what it was called, but they shortened it, fast speech or whatever, they say Skokpa. And I grew up in remembering a life of tranquility and peace and laughter and no peace. And I think some of our ways of Indian people probably is, how would you say, dysfunctional in a way, or maybe they didn't prepare us for life. We were very sheltered out there, never knew of the bad things because all they talked about was how we were connected to everything. You know, we had to respect and honor life, the living things around us. And speaking about Vine Deloria, his father used to come out and visit my grandfather, and I'm sure they had some good discussions out there.
I bet they did.
Yes. And so we kind of grew up around the boys, Ryan Deloria Sr., and then he has a brother named Philip, but we call him Sam. And they had a sister named Ella Deloria, and I'm sure some of you may have read her books. She has written some books, children's books and stuff like that. But I think, you know, they came from a good family. But anyway, life was, you know, all I knew for the fact was there was laughter. Every morning everybody was bustling around, you know, doing the chores, and the prayers were sent out, and it was always prayers, you know, whether if we ate, you know, they put out food for our ancestors, and so it was just a way of life, the way we were taught. And I talked about a few of that stuff growing up, you know, when I talked about different other topics. But there was a day that I was exposed to the dominant society, or as we call it, the boarding school. And at the age of 5, you know, it's a very scary world out there when you don't know what's happening. And so, imagine yourself being 5 years old, being removed from your family, a loving, you know, secured environment, and thrust into a foreign environment that you know nothing of. Well, I think that was the start of my deep thoughts of what was going on, and I questioned a lot of things in my mind, even though as simple as I could ask questions to my dad, why is this happening, how come this happened, and everything, you know. And there was a lot of pain, as I really didn't understand, because it was all new to me. So that was the first time I knew of hate. I knew that I wasn't accepted as being different, especially as our people. You know, the words that we heard, hurtful words. You know, we lived in a racist state, South Dakota, so it was worse then. You see the signs, no Indians allowed, and there was a lot of things I questioned. And the happy little kid that you're supposed to be when you go to town and you want to go ahead and think about going into a restaurant to eat, you know, and you couldn't do it. Well, I didn't know why we couldn't go in to eat. You know, we always took our lunch and we ate in the park or in the car. Well, they never explained that to me until way later when I could comprehend a lot of stuff that, well, they didn't want us to know that we weren't allowed in there. Wow. But anyway, it was just some of those things that I had to live with, and when you're trying to understand the world as it is, and questioning history the way it was taught, and we have our own stories. I think I burned the midnight oil in my head a lot of times. I'm a deep thinker, you know, and I try to analyze and I try to put everything in perspective. But one of the things is I do not have any regrets of the past or the present right now as I'm living it, because everything I put into context of learning. It's a lesson, and I have to put it in a positive note in everything that I do. You know, that's how I keep my sanity, I think. So I really believe that, you know, that you can't really dwell in there. I know a lot of times that wound is open, and it's daily constant reminder of everything that happens daily on my part, living in two worlds, because I'm still trying to understand, and I can't do anything about it except for prayers. Just for an example, I love going home. I think that's my root because of our creation story going back to Hesapa. And you go through the Black Hills, and you know that your heart and your soul, somehow it's connected to the land. But yet, when you see the oppression of the reservation, which I think, in my thought, the rebellious part of me is that's my homeland, that's where my people are, but yet at the same time I view it as a concentration camp. So you think about my daily mental struggles that I have, or even to see the four faces of Mount Rushmore, I don't think people understand. It may be a shrine of democracy, but where is our democracy? All these presidents have done something to indigenous people of our country. I don't really think people really read about the history. What has been taught in our classrooms. I know even when I was in college just recently, when I went back for my mental health degree, I had one of the professors tell me, that we were annihilated, and I had to raise up my hand and say, hey, I'm still here.
Wow.
So anyway, I know many of you, the listeners out there, may have met me, but everything that I am and who I choose to be, maybe I do have a strong personality a lot of times. I'm not really sure. But there's a little bit rebellion in me, and it's through pain. It's a constant pain that I say that I see that's happened with our world here, And so how I try to keep that in balance, and which I would really like to talk about the next portion, is how I do that to keep my life in balance using the medicine wheel. That's the best way I can describe, But mainly what I'm focused on right now is my mental and my emotional state, of knowing what it's like to live in two worlds. And I'm not sure if there's any questions coming up out there, Mitankala.
Not so far. Everybody is hanging on every word, because what you're saying is ringing true for a lot of people, even those that walk a spiritual life but live with people or in communities that are very based on materialism. It can be walking in two worlds for them as well. And so you're really having them, think about that, as well as what is it like for you, because this is the place of your origin, and your people are there in the Black Hills from the beginning. And what a beautiful thing. And how do you integrate that? It's fascinating, Del. So keep talking. We're loving it.
Yeah. Well, I think it really, these past few days or weeks, I have really pondered on the fact of, the immigrants, the caravan that's coming from the South, South America, and all the hate that's being spewed out there, God, I just cannot believe what thought process goes through some of these people that think about, we can't allow these immigrants who are seeking asylum,
right,
when their own ancestors did the same thing.
Right.
And that is the biggest battle I have in my mind right now, is to say, what is supposed to be? Why is this happening? And when they can't understand that in ancient times, ahani, they say, ahani, those people migrated back and forth, and we're probably ancestors of them too.
Right. It's fascinating.
So when that thought process comes in, is who are we? It's just pretty much, it's pretty much hypocrisy on my part to say when our own leaders that we elected do not even see, they don't even think deeper to the fact that, you know what, you know, we have opened up America because it's supposed to be the land of the free, you know, and although at the same time our ancestors, you know, felt that we were invaded, you know, what could have happened then in the past, you know, what if, you know, those are some of the thoughts that kind of keep me prisoner in my own thoughts.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I'm glad people didn't get to see me in my younger days when I was very angry because of pain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you wanted to know me then. And I think one of the ways that I keep my sanity, a lot of times I'm silly. A lot of times I'm witty, you know, just because.
Yes, you are.
That is basically what keeps me going. Is as Native American people, for any bad thing, they always say find humor in it, and which we do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Nicole Warner's out there listening, but Nicole, as you understand Lakota, Dakota, boy, you're going to have a lot of laughs. It's basically, like I say, you cannot really understand, you can't put yourself in there until you really know the language, because it's much more than just the words. So for me, my sanity is, like I say, the humor part of me, you know. Some of my postings may not be to your liking, you know, but it's humorous to me. It's kind of an outlet that I have to push out, you know, to keep my sanity and to know where I'm at with knowing I'm dealing with anger a lot of times. You know, boy, that ugly word really pops up a lot of times. You know, I'm angry, you know, just because but I understand that it's pain, you know, subconscious pain. And I think we all go through that a lot of times, you know, when we do something in anger or we say something mean. Look inward to know, you know, that is pain that's coming from somewhere. Mm-hmm. But this whole topic of living in two worlds it really is such a battle, and how I live with it, because I'm away from home without ceremonies or without the inipis a lot of times. And how do I do that here? You know,
right.
It's through my prayers. I stay in prayers all the time. And I also know for the fact in my own mind that I don't need an inipi, you know, or the ceremonies. It strengthens me, you know, to go back and be around the language and the people and everything. But at the same time, it's painful to see my people where they're at, because so much has been lost. There was so much of the language, so much of our ceremonies, so much of our way of life, the virtues, the values, you know, are lost.
Right. Well, one thing that I would say is that Katie Battle just said, I love your informative shows and Sparkling Heart. One of the things that, you know, as my older sister, one of the things I know sometimes that you raise eyebrows because you're very passionate about teaching. And one of the things that I can say from also being out here is what you are able to bring to people and present to people, to have them think about, stretch their mind, sometimes make them uncomfortable, rattle their cages, but ultimately to teach them something they might not otherwise learn. Because not everybody has the opportunity to speak to a tribal elder or to go to a reservation or be part of ceremonies with Native American people. Del, what you bring to the, we'll say the outside world is invaluable, because there's no other way to teach people than, you know, to be brave enough to stand up and teach what it is that you've been taught, knowing that sometimes you raise eyebrows, etc. But I know for a fact that on this part of the world, you've really opened eyes and opened hearts to help people become more compassionate, not only toward Native America, but indigenous people around the world, and also compassionate toward one another, and really the struggle of just being human. So I want to say, Lila Wopila, what you do every month is precious. It's a treasure.
Well, thank you. I think it's really important because that's the awareness, and that pretty much makes people understand where you're coming from, or why you are who you are. And for me, I know we had talked about this a lot, and I think one of your shows was taking off the mask.
Yes.
We grew up knowing that you had to be the real you, and there's times that we put on masks, to deal with the situation.
Yes.
But our life is basically we keep that mask off. And you be the real you, and you be consistent in regards to who you are. And that is very difficult to do, because, like I always hear people say, oh, you're so strong and everything. My God, how in the world do you know I'm strong? There's times that I cry when I'm taking a shower,
Right.
I think, those are some of the things, is just basically the hidden parts of somebody living out here. And in most cases, I think, as I look beyond that, why am I living out here? And I even get that from my own family and my relatives at home. It's just because I live out here that they think I'm too good.
Where does that come from, Del? Where does that thought process come from?
Well, it's inferiority complex on my part. That's the only thing that I can probably say.
Okay.
Inferiority complex is to know, because like even the thought process of our families, our parents saying, go get yourself educated, come back and help your people. Well, we do that. We try to go home. Well, we don't get a job. Everybody's territorial, and I think it's just basically inferiority complex, just they don't feel good about themselves, so boy, they're going to shelter. But we're also known, like I say, we go through the daily, I wouldn't say daily, but at times, we're called the Apple Indians, red on the outside, white on the inside.
Wow.
So one of the things that I see is I can't dwell on that, and that is one of the things that I always say, I have to keep my life in balance. I don't care. I really don't care. I have come to the part where I know I love me, and I think in most cases that's what everybody needs to do is I love me. I love what
Absolutely.
my life. I don't care what situation you're in or what happens. If you got physical pain and everything, just knowing that, there's a reason why you go through that. I mean, and one of the things I wanted to bring up, I'm having a wonderful experience, although kind of puzzling. I'm learning about the corporate world, and I do not like it. First time in my life to know exactly, to be part of a corporate world and really realize, and it's sad, and I don't like it. But I see from my own perspective where I was out there in the workforce, and knowing, that you think about each other as humanity. Well, no, it doesn't happen in the corporate world. We're robots. I mean, this is one of the things that I say is, I'm not going to work my ass off, to kill myself, because before my obituary is written, they'll be replacing me.
Right.
I mean, that's about the only analogy I can see. But that's what our world is coming to, and I really don't understand, where humanity has gone to. And in my mind, I'm thinking evolution, there's no doubt about it, but those are the struggles of the life that I knew for the caring, the compassion. Wachante okanake. You have compassion for other people, to accept people and creation as the way it is, to honor and respect. And in today's world, it's not there.
Sonia Davis is listening in. You know Sonia. And she's saying it's a hard thing to do, but yes, so right. Learn to love yourself first. I think that kind of ripples out. That's one of your teachings, isn't it, Del? That if you love yourself first and walk with your prayers, then that ripples out into the world, even corporate America.
Oh, yes. I really do believe in prayers. The funny thing about it is it's this topic of where am I going to start here, because it's such a broad subject of we're living in two worlds. I'm going to have to go to Sedona, Arizona. In my dream, I went to bed praying. Is okay. What kind of message am I going to give? Show me a sign. Well, somehow Ken was in my dream, and there was this guy named Joe. Somehow we were in cliff dwellings, and it was a beautiful place, but in my mind it was Sedona, Arizona, and all I heard Ken telling this guy is, all right, Joe, come sit down. We're going to hear, what are you teaching today in humanity? Well, dang it, I wish it went on, but the alarm went off. So I didn't get my message.
So it is about, what I'm interested in, Chue, as we're wrapping up your show here, is for those that are listening to you, you're a modern day woman. You do work in corporate America. You've done a little bit of everything. And you're pretty amazing with your background of work. And so how do you bring the spirituality that your parents gifted to you and taught you, how do you bring that every day into your life? Because I know there are times when you are at work, you must stop and pray for a minute for somebody, about somebody, or how to deal with somebody.
I think how I deal with my everyday life, again, it all goes back to prayer for that split second, for that minute to take to say, okay, calm down. You have to calm down, type of thing, and try to understand. But for me, I stay with prayer all the time. I'm standing there probably folding clothes at work, and I see somebody, but I take it upon, this is a lesson. Really, really think deep, and what is the lesson here? That is how I function in today's life. I don't care, if it's something that happened, but when I leave my house, even to go drive somewhere, I say my prayers. All right, angel, all right, my co-pilot Ken, come be with me, keep me safe, protect me. Well, I go, I drive, I come home, I say thank you. Always with gratitude, with prayers, and thinking about every part of life is a lesson. Is it going to make you strong, or is it going to break you?
Right, and it's okay to be human and all that, isn't it, Del? Even if we're being prayerful, we get to be human. We're not perfect.
And the emotions. Oh my God, those are two things. The two things that are challenging in my life, and I'm sure it's with everybody's life, is perception and emotions. How do you control those? Because everybody sees things differently, and you have no control over your emotions, because in a split second, your emotions are, going.
Yeah.
So that is one of the big disciplining thing I'm still learning, is my emotions, is how to train myself not to react. You have to think about it. You have to see what the lesson is. You have to see. And for me, I see everything. I try to put everything in a good, how would you say? I try to see the good in everything, although it may be a bad situation.
Right. Yeah, you do that.
I mean, that's hard to do.
Yeah, but you do it.
It really is hard to do.
Yeah, you do it.
For everything, that I see. Not even happening to me, a lot of times, but I got myself in a situation here where a young black guy, was asking for the time from a guy, from a lady right outside of Target here. He was, trying to catch a bus, and right away, she starts, cussing at him and everything, and he responds.
Right.
And he said, well, Jesus Christ, he called her the bitch word and everything. And he said, I'm just trying to ask you the time. So I gave him the time, and I said, sometimes I just told him, I said, sometimes you don't need to respond. I said, that's not yours,
And how did he respond to that, Del? Because that is so you to say that.
But, sometimes you have to teach people that, too.
Yeah.
Especially our young ones. Where have we gone wrong as society not to teach, the values, the principles of life itself,
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So, anyway, I think if we're wrapping up here, we're still going to continue next month in regards to knowing how to do the mental, the emotional, and the physical and the spiritual part of living in two worlds.
I love that.
This is just basically my opening remark of Vine Deloria. We see life as a living universe. And everything that is, we try to live with respect, and boy, that's hard to do in today's world.
It sure is, but we try it anyway, don't we?
Yes. We sure do.
Well, thank you for the teachings.
Are we done?
We are. Thank you for the teachings, Del. It was another great morning.
And happy Turkey Day to everybody. Make sure you don't overeat now.
Thank you, Del.
All right. Doksha ake.
Doksha ake.